was gone.
Good morning and happy Friday, everyone. We are so happy that you are gathering and joining us today. I am Iris Owens, the host of the Autopsy of Her Healing, Evolving Resiliency. And we are so glad that you are joining us today. On the line with me is my beautiful sister and co-host. Good morning,
Hi,
Bunny.
good morning, Honey Bunny. Stephanie Deani Green. Good morning, everyone.
Yeah.
We have the giggles. I have the giggles.
Yes, we have the giggles. We always have the giggles because every time we get together, we're having a good time, whether it's on via Zoom or in person. We are always like two little, high school girls laughing and covering our faces and laughing and joking. And people probably think we're talking about them, and we're not, because we're not those people. We're just being silly with one another, and it's just that's how it goes anytime we get together. So it is good to be with someone that you can laugh and joke with, and that they keep you laughing. That's the most important thing, that they keep you laughing. So today we were having a conversation. We have a conversation before the conversation, and so today's topic is basically no. No is a complete sentence, right? We all know that. No is a complete sentence, except when it comes to
a lot of things.
So that's
Except
what we're talking about.
well, like letting your kids spend the night at people's houses. It's like, let's be clear.
So,
Didn't say that.
so let's unpack that stuff. Why is no a complete sentence except when it comes to your children spending the night at other people's houses? Now, guys, mind you, her kids are now young adults, so we're not talking about the here and now because they're young adults.
Yeah, they're in college now. But I mean, I think no. To be honest with you, I think no can be a complete sentence with that too. It's counting who's asking. When you're like thinking about a family member, then you have to give, because they're going to say why, and then you have to give a reason. So that's why. But when it comes to like, oh, can I spend the night at my friend's house? No.
Right.
When I taught my kids, don't even ask me that. That's not going to happen. Okay, we don't do that, because the reality is that you do not know. Even relatives, or even if someone you have a lot of traffic in and out of your home.
Yes,
it's never going to happen. And then I tell you, it could but you don't even have. For me, you don't even have to have traffic. It's certain things that people say. It is one of my sayings I cannot stand. When people say, "Oh, a man is going to be a man," in reference to them
yes,
dealing with
and their
women.
behavior. Yes,
Exactly. Oh,
yeah.
no. Once
Yeah,
you make a
as
comment
if
like
as
that,
if that is a get out of jail free card. Do what you want,
exactly.
how you want to do it, and the rest of the world just has to accept that a man's going to be a man.
So-called man. Because
Yes, yes,
those things, when they put that label on those things, most of the time,
yes,
that's not a man doing it.
right,
It's
right.
a grown boy, not a man.
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
So when you make those kind of comments, so it goes to like, well, she looked grown, she was acting grown. Oh yeah, but she was a child. But when a woman, or mainly I hear women say that, but when a woman would say something like that, that tells me already where your mindset is.
Well, so let's ask the question. So you said it's you, if your kids would ask you to spend the night at a friend's house, the answer would be no. No is a complete sentence, no explanation needed, no punctuation. So what's the difference between when it's a family member and it's no is a complete sentence, except when it comes to a family member? Why?
Because the family member is going to ask you why.
And
Like, oh,
why would you not be able, or why would you not give them a reason?
One, maybe that statement has come out their mouth. A man is going to be a man. The other thing is that they have a lot of traffic in and out their home. I don't know you. I don't live in your house. I don't know you. I don't know what go. I mean, I know you from the point of where I know you. I think about like some people that I know that have very good relationships with, and I've never been in their home, because we always meet out somewhere. We meet at, we're just, it doesn't mean we're not friends. Everyone, I don't know what goes on behind closed doors. I'm not the type of person to trust any of those things, because the things that I have found out that went on behind closed doors is scary. I know that things that was living in my house that was going on behind closed doors, that people that did not know what was going on behind those closed doors. So I don't trust any of that, because really, once you have a conversation with people, and just a conversation kind of will tell you. I never forget, Savion had this little friend, and the mom used to always say to me, "Oh, I love Savion. We do it like, what do you call that? When they go to the house,
Play
a play
date.
date." And I was like, but my thing is, when I tell my kids, you want a play date, it got to be a play date for mommy too. So that means I have to be friends with the parent too. And me and this lady, we just not click. I didn't want to have a play date with her. But it was an incident that happened where a little girl, and she was a little white girl, came into their school, and she was new. That afternoon, when I came to pick up my son, they had these sheets. You come in, sign in, and they had these sheets out about threatening kids. It was all this stuff. So I said to the director, I said, "What's this about?" And she says to me, "Oh, funny you should ask." I said, "I need to see you in my office." Go in the office. She says, "Well, we had a new student that started yesterday, and she said that Savion threatened to shoot her." I was like, "Really? Like Savion?" Like, okay, but I'm not, because kids could be different when they're away from home. I was never one of those, "Oh, no, not my child. Like, we're going to investigate." And what happened was, when I guess the conversation was overheard, I was leaving her office. The same mother was coming in, and she said, "Oh no, that was probably my son because he loves guns. His father's a cop. He loves guns." I was like, Savion ain't never going over their house. The kid loves guns and all this kind of stuff, and it ended up being this little boy. So it's just like through conversation, learning, listening, that you make those kind of decisions. I already knew before we even had kids. That was something that my husband and I talked about to a great extent, and we both were on the same page with that, because he agreed, being in the type of business that he was in, hearing all of these stories, and there's a lot of them, and a lot of them are horrific, and you just, some things you would never ever believe.
But
So yes.
okay, so and I understand that. But my question was, and I thought where we were focusing was more of, when you say no to a family member, it's not a specific, what am I saying? Not a specific thing like your children spending the night or that, but I'm saying, why is it harder to say no to a family member? Because the question was, no is a complete sentence, but except when it comes to, not particularly just incidents. Because yeah, I had a rule too about my kids being able to spend the night or not spend the night at certain places, and so did my mom. But I'm talking about, if you're saying being able, hard to say no to a family member, and I said why, so is it?
Well, it wasn't hard, but I'm just saying, like, the family, like, if you said, my family member, you asked me, can my kids spend the night? And I say no. Well, why can't they spend the night? Then you have to go into then, I mean, at the same time, you have to be careful, because you don't want to offend them. But at the same time, I want to make it clear to you that my kids cannot come and spend the night at your house.
But I think you can tell someone no and not have to do an explaining, or if the explanation,
no, you can. I mean, even if they
because
ask you.
because I think even in life with people, with setting boundaries, and I think that's really what this is about. No is a complete sentence, and I have the right to say no about something that I'm uncomfortable with, or I just don't agree with, or whatever. But if we're going to say it's a complete sentence except when it comes to family or your boss, or certain people, then what does that say about our boundaries? Because I do think we are all allowed to set and have boundaries. And I think this is something that comes up often nowadays, where, if we teach our children to be respectful, but we also teach our children the ability to be able to say no to people. And I'm not talking no like disrespectful no of, no, I don't want to do that when you're in school, or
Mm-hmm.
your grandmother says, I need you to come over here right now. And you go, no, I don't feel that right. I'm not talking about that type of no. I'm talking about building in those type of boundary setters where our children and we don't become victimized, right? Because that's basically where you were coming from with having to give explanation and not wanting to offend anyone. But at the same time, with all of this, not telling somebody or taking someone's ability to be able to protect themselves away from them, especially when they're younger, because then we're saying children are supposed to obey what someone is saying to them. But we all know, and if anyone is offended, in every family, in every, culture, and everybody who knows somebody who we have all heard, as you said, the horrific stories of how someone takes advantage of someone who's more vulnerable to them, right? And that's just not children, but unfortunately it happens to children more often than not. But it happens to, young boys, it happens to young girls, it happens to middle-aged girls, it happens to grown behind women, right? Absolutely. Because we feel we are not empowered to say no, right? And sometimes when we are children, we're not taught those boundaries, right? Or again, as you said, not wanting to hurt someone's feelings or be disrespectful. We're that empowerment of being able to protect ourselves is taken many times in our lives. And nowadays, I've had conversations with people who go, yeah, but now you're letting these kids tell grown-up people what they won't do and they don't want to do it. And I'm like, and for me, I'm sorry. I'm not telling my kids to be disrespectful. That's never what I've taught my children. But I have taught my children that you have the right to say no. I.e., we have grandparents, right? We have uncles and we have aunts and we have all these people in our family. And a lot of times these are not people that we're always in close range with, right? So I am very uncomfortable with telling a young girl. I told my daughter from the very beginning, as she got a certain age, you don't sit on men's laps.
That's right. That's right.
Other than your father and your brother, you should not be on any other man's lap. Once my daughter had sense enough to be able to say yes, no, or ow, that hurts, or I taught her you have to set boundaries with people, right? Because otherwise, I kind of let you go out into the world thinking that everyone is safe and everyone is going to be nice to you and everyone is going to be good to you, and that's not the truth. So I would tell my children, especially if we travel to a part of the went to another state and there's people that my children have never met or encountered before. I was never one to say to my children, the person says, oh, come give me a hug, come give me a kiss. If they said no, no was the answer. No was a complete sentence. And I gave my children that empowerment to say that.
Because unfortunately, I did not play when it came to my children. And back to like offending people, I probably offended everyone. I didn't mean to offend them, but I just want to say that because they were offended by the time it was all over and said and done with. They were offended from the day from no. And back to what you were saying about people and knowing setting boundaries for yourself. When like when my deacon in my church, I was 15 years old, he came on to me. And I had no problem. I laid him out. The words that came out of my mouth, he could not believe he was hearing from when he knew me since I was 6 years old. Just like I couldn't believe the words that was coming out of his mouth when I'm 15 years old. But I let him know what time it was. One of our family members, who was like a relative to me, knew me since I was a baby, tried to kiss me. Oh, I had no problem. Like, yeah, ever. You know what I mean? my girlfriend's father came on to me, giving me a ride home from her house one time.
Right.
Laid him out too. So I can honestly tell you, I had no problem and taught my
Right.
kids that. I taught my daughter as she started getting older and she started developing and stuff like that. I said, let me tell you, because of these kind of incidents with these kind of people that no one would ever suspect.
Right.
I
Right.
mean, I got your back. I will believe you
Right. And I'm
and
gonna
let me
stand up for
and
you.
tell me I will stand up for you. And if this person ever, I don't care, uncle, cousin, brother,
Threatens you.
whatever,
Yes.
honey, let
Yes.
me know. And you let them know. And I can tell you, her mouth is lethal. My son's mouth is like, okay, even with these women
Yes.
going after these boys. Oh, no, no, no.
Yeah.
I have a friend I went to school with. He was sleeping with all his mother's friends. I couldn't begin to imagine.
Yes.
You, my friend, sleep with my child. Like, come on. Are the
Right.
teachers? I told my son, these teachers start looking at you because they good. They little, these teachers these days are horrible, some of them. And I'm like, yep. I said, let me know what time it is. She started looking at you cross-eyed, with little, hearts in her eyes. We're gonna have a problem. But you have to let them know. But no, I would try to, like, because they just gonna be when you said, like, no, I don't do that. But then if people know who you are, then why would you even ask me that? I was told
Because
by somebody, oh, you don't have no social skills. They're not gonna know this. They'll need to spend a night placing no social skills. They're good.
right. And I personally, I remember, like, same thing. I was growing up as an only child. I mainly had my cousins who would come and spend nights, or I would go spend nights with them.
Mhm.
But my mother was not keen on me spending nights at other people's homes as well. And so then when I had children, right, I would let them go and spend the night, but I would also, like you said, I had to develop a relationship with the parents. I had to
Mhm.
know, again, not judgment, but I had to know what kind of family, what kind of life you live, because
Mhm. Mhm.
unfortunately, right, we don't know what goes on between other people's home doors. When they close their doors at night and pull their shades, you don't know what's going on in people's homes. And I'm not just talking about sexual abuse. I'm talking about abuse, period.
No,
Because
no,
I never,
exactly.
I would be devastated to know that my child went to spend the night at someone's home, and in that home there is verbal abuse, or there's physical abuse, right? Or there's
Alcoholism,
alcohol abuse, or
drug
people
abuse.
to one another are just not kind, or my children get to witness their friend being abused verbally, emotionally, physically, however. And I think at times we forget how traumatic that can be to another person who has never experienced that sort of thing, you know.
It
I
really is.
remember years ago, I was not even a teenager. I remember years ago being with two of my aunts, and my aunts and I went to visit a family member, and this family member had two daughters, and this family member was a preacher, right?
Mhm.
And we had gone to their church that Sunday, and I had a girl crush on their one of their daughters, because she was always so beautifully dressed, and she could sing, and she was elegant. She was just all the things that I would like when I grow up and be like her. you know,
Uh-huh.
that sort of thing. And I remember going to their house, and my two aunts and them were, they were all talking and so forth, and laughing and giggling. I'm just sitting there enjoying this adult, opportunity to be with the adults, right? and
Wait, how old were you?
so I had to be probably around, I'm going to say I was probably like maybe 12. I'm going to say 12, maybe between 12 and 14, if I was that old. Um,
Okay.
but I'm sitting there, listening to them talk. And so the one of the daughters did have a child. And so that child was there, but the his mom was not there. The other sister was not there. And so
Okay.
the father, yelled from the back room to asked her to get him some water. And so she went and she got the water in a mason jar, and she gave it to her nephew. to take to the grandfather. And
Mm.
I don't know how old he was. Like I said, I don't even remember how old I really was, but he was maybe, I don't know, 3 or 4. He was a little boy.
Mm.
So he takes the jar of water to go give to the grandfather, and he dropped it.
Mm. Poor
And
baby.
this man came out of that room with an extension cord and proceeded to beating this grown woman in front of myself and my 2 aunts. I will never, ever, as long as I live, forget that experience. Because for one, I had never seen anyone beaten. You know what I mean? I'm talking, other than, yeah, okay, as a child, I might see my cousin get a spanking, but I had never seen a grown woman and a grown man come charging out of a room with an extension cord to beat someone. I
That's horrible.
had never seen that before. And I remember, like I said, to this day, how my 2 aunts and I were basically like almost running over each other to get out of there, to get out of the house. And how we
Wow.
literally ran back home to our house,
I gotta plug my. I'm listening. I gotta plug my
you know,
phone.
to get back home, and getting back home and sharing that with my mom. And so for me, that's what I'm saying. I don't think people understand sometimes the damage that one can do from your behavior of something that someone is not accustomed to. Um, we all, yes, discipline, everyone disciplines differently. But when you see that kind of behavior from an adult, especially someone that is so much bigger than you, has more control than you, has more power than you, we don't understand, if we don't talk to our children and prepare them, how we are literally setting them up to maybe one day be in a position where they think that that's normal behavior.
It's so true. You're absolutely correct about that. You have to prepare them. I mean, because a lot of people don't want to talk. They talk to the children. Some people I find focus on the wrong things. And
Yeah.
you have to prepare them for these things. I mean, the things that we were taught, like when an adult tells you something, you do what adult tells you to do. You can't tell the children that this day and time,
No,
because
because you can't trust every adult.
exactly. But that adult may be telling you may not be the right thing. You know what I mean? Or if adult says that about your child, you're gonna go beat your child because the adult says so.
Right.
Adults
Right.
rely on children all the time, and always has. You
Oh,
know,
yes. Yes.
I mean,
Because there's a
nothing new.
time that a child couldn't even say that someone lied, which
No,
is why
exactly,
sometimes children don't have voices, right?
exactly.
And
That's
so we have to be so careful, because those children without voices, if they are fortunate enough in life to survive,
mm-hmm.
they become adults without voices,
Listen,
or they
it's true,
become adults with the wrong type of voice,
which is true too. Absolutely,
right?
absolutely, absolutely.
And I think, like I said, I have had arguments with people, debates with people about, I think you give your children too much leverage.
Mm-hmm.
And my thing is, I think as children, we don't get enough leverage,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because listen, if you talk to 10 women in your life, talk to 10 men in your life, you will probably get 8 out of those 10 women who have in some way been abused.
Oh, absolutely. Mm-hmm.
And you will
Definitely.
probably get maybe 5 to 7 of the men who have been abused, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We have a very warped sense of, as you stated earlier, about maturity. Like, well, she looked grown. Looks has
Mm-hmm.
nothing to do with what I am and who I am, right? I have experience, or had the experience with many of, several male friends who became sexually active at an early age with women who were old enough to be their mothers or to be their sisters or sometimes maybe their grandmothers, who perform sexual acts on these young boys.
Exactly.
And then when those young boys shared those experiences, the men in their lives go, oh man, that's bravado. It is not bravado.
No, it isn't.
It is trauma. It is trauma. A young man, a young woman, and I'm not a young man, a young girl, a young child. I don't care what they are doing or you are reading as sexual signals.
Exactly.
And if you are reading what you think are sexual signals, then you know that that child needs help, because nobody comes into the world sexualized. Like we don't come into the world with, I'm going to be 5 and I'm sexy.
Exactly.
I'm 3 and I'm sexy, baby. I'm trying to get your attention over here because, baby, I want you. Nobody comes into the world like that. Not a boy, not a girl. We are not. Sexuality and our and sensuality, those are things that we grow into, right? That we learn. We don't come into the world with being sexy. A newborn baby is not laying on the table with their diaper off going, hey, do you see my sexiness over here? Come on, guys. I want,
you ever see a baby or like a toddler and you give them some food, or they got they shaking their body, shaking their little butt. They're not talking about being. That's what they're doing. They're excited.
Right, they're happy. It's happy.
I remember when you would nurse your baby, and I know the milk tastes good, so their toes would curl up and stuff like that.
Yes,
that's just, it's
that's
like
happy. That's satisfaction.
Sick people take that as wrong.
People see these things, or you convince a child.
She used to walk, and like, how women, when they imitate women, like even on the cartoons, and they switch their butt.
Yes.
My daughter used to walk, when she started walking, she would walk like that. I'd be like, why does she walk like that? You know what I mean? Because she would walk like she switches, but what it was, she was bold. You couldn't tell she was bow-legged at that point.
Right.
But she was bow-legged. And that's what, and literally that's how she walks to this day.
Yes.
That's just how she. Well, I'm sure people look at her. I mean, now she's 22. Like, look at how she walks. But that's how she walks. It's nothing like she's trying to. Like, that's just how she walks. But people going into it thinking this is whole other thing.
Yeah, it's not.
Or make you feel. Or I know being a child, like I would feel ways when my body first started developing. People looking at you. I would try to like walk straight. I didn't want to move I would feel ways because I didn't want anyone to look at me. I didn't want to be sexualized as a little kid after having experienced someone that watched those kind of things.
Right.
So I became very feeling like, let me not walk. I don't want my hips to move too. I just got into that for a little bit.
Right.
So I realized that you got to walk.
Right. And your body is not a board. You can't, you will definitely not, you are causing more damage than you are good trying to be straight like a board, because you're not a soldier. And even a soldier has to flex somewhere in there.
Exactly. That wasn't going to work. You know what I'm saying? But it's sad, though, that we are at that state. But I think that the more we tell our children to speak up for themselves, and that no is a complete sentence.
Yes.
And to know that, and I guess the most important thing is to know that you have the support of your family.
Yes.
That's another thing, because I think a lot of people, even now to this day, they don't have the support, not necessarily in the family, but sometimes you get a lot of support outside of the family. Because what happens is that, women, really still kind of serving their children up to have a man still. You know what I'm saying? So, you want to pretend like you don't know he's sneaking into her room or into his room, but he is.
Yeah.
But anything you're going to do to be able to keep him here, which is quite disgusting. But, and it's still like to this day, which is sad that it's still happening, you know. And you got to protect your children, because you protect the children, then as they grow up, you have less of those type of people in the world, because then, either you heal from it or
Yeah.
you become what it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or
you find ways to justify, and then and so in your mind, your mind, right, you become it, or you allow it to happen. Either way, you're on the opposing side as opposed to the protecting side.
I know this one young lady, she was molested by her uncle, and when she told her mother was like, "Suck it up," because it happened to her. "I'll just suck it up,"
Right.
I'm like, wow, suck it up.
But when someone says that, and that's what I'm saying, the cycle of abuse, whatever the abuse is a taught cycle. It is a taught mentality, right? And the taught mentality is something that, for years as a woman, we have to always be kind of disappear. Because for some reason, there are individuals in the world, men and women, who feel that we were created for the disposal of other people, to be there for other people to do whatever, however they want to do to us. That is not what we were created for. I want you all to hear what I'm saying. That is not what we were created for.
Yeah, exactly.
We are not your punching bag. We are not your heavy load bearer. We are not the person for you to dump everything on. We are not the person to take responsibility for everything that has happened in your life or didn't happen in your life. We are not here to be your sexual toy, to do whatever you want, whenever you want, however you want, because that is not what we were created to do.
No, not
right?
at all. Not
So
at all.
I feel like we are taught, or society tries
learned behavior.
Right. This learned behavior that you need to learn how to be quiet, right? You need to learn how to be quiet. Oh, but you could talk, you could be loud, but I need to learn how to be quiet, because I am only trying to protect myself from what wickedness I know you're about to try to do to me. No, I'm not. Trauma is a real thing. And people don't understand that when you see people behaving in different manners that would be appropriate for a person, especially age appropriate, there is something going on. Right?
Oh, absolutely.
So the next time you see a young woman or a young girl just so out of the box, before you go, she's so fast.
Exactly.
She's so fast. Look at her over there, just doing all that.
Yeah, it's a reason.
I want you to think, why is that child, why is that young girl doing what she's doing? Right?
That's right.
Because sometimes it is a forced thing. She may be out there being pimped out, prostituted by a parent, by a family member, by whomever. It may be her only mode of survival, of at least what she believes, because the people who are responsible for her are nowhere to be found or are not responsible.
That's right.
And it really hurts my heart every time I hear a story about a young girl, a young boy being robbed of their innocence, being robbed of their life, of their future, because it takes a lot to heal from that type of trauma, especially when you didn't even have sense enough to be able to process what was happening to you.
That's right.
And so many times we blame the victim,
I know.
We blame the victim.
When I was brutally raped and attacked, my mother blamed me. I'm in an elevator. I got raped and attacked by a stranger.
Yes.
And she was mad at me. It was my fault. I was 20, 21. I was in college. Like, really, attitude, just nasty. And I was like, wow. But I realize now it's like when people, especially like then, my mom who raised me, she was born in 1922. Like when you don't know how to handle these things, all of a sudden it's the other person's fault.
Yes.
And but you cannot blame the other person.
Or
You know,
sometimes it is something that has happened for them. It has happened to them too. See, that's what
yeah,
I'm saying. Because we are so good at keeping secrets. And some things don't need, there are a lot of things, not some, there are a lot of things that do not need to be secrets.
now I tell you, like the secrets that we keep on the secrets we should be keeping.
They're
You
not the
know,
secrets we're
especially
supposed to
like
be keeping.
yeah, like it's like in the family. But I think my mom, she was mad when I got my menses. Oh, ooh, like you a woman, like all these things just like just throw her off. You know what I mean? But then I think that it was too like, oh, now she's gonna be more of a target now that she is adulting.
Right.
So that probably has something to do with it. But you
Right.
have to know as you give birth to these tiny little infants, they're gonna turn into adults.
Yeah.
And they're turning into adults
Yes.
a lot faster than what you anticipate. Trust and believe that.
Right. And you have to
So
protect them. You have to
yes,
protect them
and
as
you have to
best you
prepare them
can
too.
from the
That's right.
predators. This is
That's
why
right.
no is a complete sentence. When it comes to
Mm-hmm.
your children and protecting your
Oh,
children, yes, no is
but
a
it's
complete
protecting
sentence.
them. Still protecting them, like a family
Right.
member. Oh, I want to go hang out with your daughter. We live in the same state.
No,
Like, oh
thank
no,
you.
no, you don't need to hang out with my daughter.
I'm not even extending that invitation.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. My daughter don't even need to know about the invitation. It's never gonna happen. I got somebody that I can. If somebody need to get to her, that's a.
All right,
I
I got that.
don't
Don't worry,
need it
it's
to be you.
handled.
I don't need it to be you.
This is why when we first started this, there was an incident in my family where got into a whole argument with someone because at the time my son was, still riding in a car seat.
Uh-huh.
And someone, they were all traveling back somewhere else and I was going home and my son was going to go with my mom.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there were so many people in this car. They were like, well, his car seat can't go. I said, well, if his car seat can't go, baby, neither can
And you
you.
can't know it. I know that's
You
right.
can't go either. and so and so it turned into a big argument. It was like, oh, is he better than? Well, at this point, yes, he is.
My kids want a car seat.
Because if there were other children involved, and those children were not in a car seat. There was no way. And this is why I say, when it comes to protecting our children, you're not going to challenge me on me protecting my child.
No. Oh, absolutely not.
You're never going to challenge me on I'm doing what I know is right for my child. Because one, if something had happened to our son, because first I'd have to answer to his father. Why was our child in a car, not in a car seat? Because no time ever in our time with him does he ride in a car without a car seat.
Exactly.
Right?
But it's unacceptable.
It's unacceptable. It is not for his best interest, nor is it for ours.
Exactly.
And so when the person challenged me, I just was like, you know what? He just won't go. But the person became very belligerent with me and was angry and was like, well, your kid better than, well, on this day, he shall be. Right?
If that's like this, if that's how you want to take it, you know what I mean?
Right.
Because
then he shall be.
With all the statistics of all the harms that happen when children aren't in car seats, this is not 1960. This is not 1970. This is not even 1980s. These are 1990s.
Yes.
Okay. Really, I think that nonsense stopped in the 80s.
That's you don't want to. And what they say, if you know better, you do better. And so I wouldn't even ride in the car with my child not in a car seat. And even when people say, well, you could just hold him. No, Because if an accident happened, my arms are not going to be able to safeguard my child from going through a window shield or getting smashed in between me and the dashboard. No. So I think we have to be mindful when people challenge you about your children and the protection of your children. And why did you say no? Because I said no. No is no. It's a whole complete sentence, and it does not require exclamation or punctuation. My answer was no.
Then they give you all these reasons. Like I told you, it's like, the social skills, or they're not going to be friends with other people. Well, first of all, half of the problem with a lot of people is that they don't make friends with themselves. So now you're looking for external friendships. So now you beg, borrow, and steal for a friendship with, a friend, or a relationship with a romantic relationship, because for the simple fact you haven't created a friendship within yourself.
Yeah.
So let's be like, we'll learn to be friends with ourselves, and then you learn to be. That's so important, and it's not being selfish, but it is like what's the other word we're using instead of selfish? But it's like
it's self-preservation.
Self-preservation. You need to be healthy. You need to know that you're good enough, because when you sell yourself out for these relationships with other people that aren't good, out of need for having need other people, it's not healthy. That's not the way you healthy relationships.
Nope.
You know what I mean? So that they're good, and you learn to be your own best friend. Which is the best thing that you can be.
Right. Yeah, I totally agree. And it's just so many things that that go on in my head every day. And every time, like I said, every time I hear a story about a child, about a woman, about a man who's been abused by someone, it is the most hurtful thing, because you say to yourself, how do people get to that place?
How do you get here? I had a family member that, and I can honestly tell you, I often wonder, like, how did he get where he got within intelligent, PhD, but in your 50s, you end up on crack. And
that's a whole other show, because I could tell you how.
I'm just saying, but then I know the same thing. You want, like, how do
you get there? Yes.
You know what I mean? How do you get there from that age? It's like, you think that when you have your children and you get them up and they do well, you don't have any issues with them in high school, they go to college, they have a family, they have children, maybe their children are even grown, they'll be getting grandchildren soon, and now you're in trouble. Now you're 50 years old, closer to the grave than to the cradle, and now you're an addict, or now you're this. That's like, but
go back to what you said. Go back to what I just said a few minutes ago. Remember, trauma doesn't just pop up.
No, it's been
that there. Person probably was living in trauma, in pain the whole time. Exactly. Right? From whenever the trauma happened in their life, right? And then whatever else was compounded with living life. And then one day, I think people get to a point where it breaks you, right? And it normally doesn't happen. It doesn't happen like I turned the switch on today and I decided I'm going to do this. The pressure becomes so much that people just start to gradually. It's like smoking. It's like drinking. You didn't take a first drink and became an alcoholic overnight. You didn't smoke crack one day and became an addict overnight. Well, in some cases, yes, because some drugs are very addictive, right?
Or heroin.
Or heroin, exactly, right? So yes, it doesn't make sense, but it does make sense, because most days, most of us get up and we have things already that has happened from the day before that we're still carrying. But in some cases, we just keep carrying. We keep carrying these bags, these heavy loads, and we keep acting as though these things exist. Absolutely.
ladies and bag men. And like
Right.
to your point, where we'll definitely do another show about this. With I know who you're talking about, but I think from that was a big breakdown, that when his parents passed and he no longer had that support, it was like
Right.
the parents, like, like
Right.
sometimes some of the things that only to keep you up, that you don't do certain things because you got some children you got to take care of, you got some parents you got to, answer to. But
Yes.
sometimes those things are gone. I mean,
You
I know
lose your
women.
mind.
I
You
know some people
lose all good sense.
exactly. I had a lady I knew. She said she had a baby at 15. She said, and thank God, she said all my friends I was running with were dead. They got AIDS and all this kind of stuff. My baby saved my life because I had to stop running around because I had to take care of the child. So yes, exactly. So sometimes those things are your saving grace, that But then once they're gone and there's nothing
Right.
to or adhere to, boom,
Yep.
there it is.
There's no one you have to answer to anymore. And that's why, we always think, I always say, and I've shared this before, I once heard a pastor say, as young women, right, we always are like, oh, my mother, she get on my nerves. She just make me sick. She's so annoying, all this stuff, right? And she said, my mother, she's always on my back. She said, but at least when your mama get up off your back, you're not pregnant. I will never ever forget that, because it is normally the things that our parents are on our backs about are the things that are the pitfalls in life, and the places where we can fall and maybe not get back up, or the place that we fall and we keep falling and we keep falling and we keep falling and we keep making the same mistake over and over and over and over again. And to your point, like you just said, when our parents are no longer there to ride our back, like, yeah, they annoy the hell out of us. But there are times in our lives that something happens and we go, God, I wish my mother was here right now. God, I wish my father was here right now. God, I wish grandma, I could pick up the phone and say, grandma, this is right. Auntie, my sister, whomever those people were in your life that help you work through. But since they're not here anymore, then we got to honor what they did teach us, right?
Exactly.
I think that's what resiliency is. That resiliency is built on that, right? Like, it may be antiquated. They may have been 100 years old when they told us this thing, right? Or they would be, but the point is, just like we have trauma in our lives, there are those positive deposits,
but the things
that
don't
have been
change.
made in our lives that we gotta remember to go back, and the same way we can drool on trauma, go back and drool on and crave on the positive deposits that's been made in our lives.
But they don't change though. Like the things, like it's like the Bible. The Bible is parables and stories. They're so real today as they were ever. It's the same thing. It's just different people, different places, different times. It's the same things. It's like the things that our parents, now sometimes the delivery is different, like from how your parents gave it to you, from how their parents gave it to them, and some people got it like it's like they got it from the Bible, then it was interpreted. Before you went to Bible study at a church, you had Bible study at home, and it was the way they told the story. But when even now, you go back to the Bible, it tells you a story and it just makes so much sense in 2022. It's still here. Things really hasn't changed at all.
Well, my grandma always said, things do not change, just the names and the faces and the places change.
It's so true.
And I truly believe that, and the longer you live, the longer you realize that. So that's why I said the things that are in your life that have been positive deposits, the same way we will go and dredge on the trauma, you got to learn how to go and pull up those positive deposits and withdraw. It's like a bank account. Learn how to withdraw from those positive deposits in your life, because life is a journey, right? Filled with ebbs and waves. And waves, and you're like,
it's a journey you can win.
Yeah, you can. You have to win it. You're
but
still here.
You got to be
here. You're still here. You're still winning.
You got to learn. You got to learn your lessons, because if you don't, they'll keep coming until you do learn. That's for sure. You know? I would tell my children, and I truly believe this, is like you cannot definitely be selfish in the sense of, you know, don't keep doing the certain things and ruining your life or ruining your health, because now that affects everybody. You know what I mean? People like keep doing different things to their body. You're taking these drugs, or you're drinking, or you're smoking cigarettes. And then in the end, somebody has to take care of you. When if you would have taken care of yourself, it's such an unfair situation in some aspects. Everything done in moderation, yes. But or you know that you're sick or whatever, you're still indulging in certain things you shouldn't be indulging in.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then you're mad at the world when you end up, your body's broken down, and now you got 3 kids and only one of them want to take care of you, or you got to share yourself between your 3 kids, you know, or you take a kid that's out there wilding out. Next thing you know what I mean? You're not even the same kid anymore.
Right.
And now you're with me for the rest of your life because of the choices that you made, you know, and you have to be really careful. I mean, granted, some things are accidents and some things are things you have no control over. I'm talking about the things that you have seen people have put upon themselves, and you're like, now here we are, because you enjoyed whatever you were indulging in so much. Now this is your life. Didn't want to live home with mommy for the rest of your life, but now here you are living home with mommy for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, you got to be really, really, really careful. You really, really do. You know, think before you take that leap.
Yep. Well,
You can enjoy
guys,
life. You can enjoy a lot of life and still be careful.
well, guys, we thank you all so much. Just remember, no is a complete sentence.
That's right.
Except when it comes to. So the whole point of this today was to what's on the end of your except when it comes to. Yeah. Examine that for yourselves. Except when it comes. No is a complete sentence. Except when it comes to. Because if there's a to on the end of that, that is creating trauma or hurt and pain in your life, then that's a place where you might want to examine. So we hope that we shared some information with you today that will help you in your life journey, help you work through some trauma, help you evolve, and help you know that you are resilient, that you have resiliency. So we thank you all so much. Steph, your final words today?
Yeah, my final words is be mindful. You know, you have to think about other people, just not yourself. And protect your kids with everything you got. As bad as you wanted them here, you got to protect them always. As long as you're here, you protect them. Then when you're not here, you still protect them. Got to take care of your babies. Nobody's not going to take care of them, love them like you.
Amen. Yeah. Amen to that.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, honey bunny. Well, enjoy the weekend.
Yes, I will. I will give me some rest because I got 4 hours last night. I got 4 hours the night before.
Oh. Yeah, well, we must be on the same schedule because I've been Tuesday night. I was Tuesday morning. I woke up at 4 a.m. and never went back to sleep. So I get it.
And that's why you just text me at 5 o'clock this morning. I was like, okay.
Yes, you said. Yes, up early again. Ding, ding, ding. Yes, it's been a week of 4 a.m. and 5 a.m. wake up. I don't know. So one of these days I'm going to catch some sleep.
I know that's right. I know that's right.
You guys have a wonderful weekend. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy your time. And we thank you all so much. Be blessed. Bye.
Be blessed. Bye-bye. Have a good weekend. Bye, honey bunny.
Bye, honey bunny.